crazy. Your opportunity.
Looking back now, knowing what I know now, is that I am where I am today because of the people that I've met along my entrepreneurial journey. I strongly believe, because that's what I found, is that your network is your net worth. Let's take another one. If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with 5 other millionaires and you'll be number 6. One of the biggest investments that you can do in yourself is to build your personal brand. Because the more people know you, the bigger your network, the larger chance of new opportunities that are coming your way. Start with, what do you want people to tell others about the event that they just attended? Start with that endpoint in mind. Where in my case, let me look at the dinner, is it, what do I want others to tell? I want others to tell how amazing this dinner was. And I want others to tell that they should come to the next dinner. If you're able, through your product, to make someone feel heard or seen, you will have lifelong customers. If you're able to create a sense of belonging and a sense of community and a sense of following for your brand, you're unstoppable. The power of network is generosity. Give, without expecting anything in return.
Hello and welcome to the WeMarketers Podcast. I'm Andrew and I have special guest today. Before this episode, I prepared, in the best traditions, I prepared notes how I want to introduce Adriaan, but honestly, then I looked at them and I realized that this is just fluffy words. So I just want to throw it away and share a little bit my personal story.
Great, bring it on.
I have met Adriaan Kolff 3 years ago. I was fleeing from the war. I lived in the office and I was searching for a job. And then I met Adriaan. His energy, how he spoke, that inspired me. And we started working together. And along the way, Adriaan helped me both professionally and personally. 1 year ago, Adriaan said, Andrew, you should start your own podcast. And here we are. We are here today in my studio. Adriaan is my guest. I'm very honored. We're going to talk about a topic that is very important for me, but I believe also for all the marketers who are watching us. This is the power of networking. And Adriaan is the best person whom I know who can guide us. Adriaan, happy to have you today.
Wow. And what a special introduction, Andrew. And I can echo those words. I do want to make a correction though. It wasn't me saying I think you should do a podcast. It was all you, after you built our podcast, that you got inspired to then start your own podcast. And the only thing I did was go for it and be your biggest supporter. So it's, as much as an honor for you, it's an honor for me to be on your podcast, knowing how successful it's becoming. So thanks for having me.
Adriaan, you've built several successful businesses, and along the way, networking played a big role. Could you share more about your approach to networking and what is it for you?
So I think, looking back now, knowing what I know now, is that I am where I am today because of the people that I've met along my entrepreneurial journey, but also my not only entrepreneurial journey, but also my personal life. And at the time, I didn't know that it was the network that actually was helping me propel in my career. But now, looking back, I can truly understand why my network has been so fundamental of bringing to the place where I am today. And let me give you a few examples. When I studied in the Netherlands, I joined a fraternity. And because of that fraternity, in a very short period of time, I met over 400 people that applied at the same time that I joined the fraternity. And over the years of studying, I've met hundreds, maybe even thousands of people through my fraternity that all had similar kind of like values and outlook on life. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is that at the first job that I ever applied, which was a really tough job to get into, the Unilever finance traineeship, in my last assessment that I had, the person interviewing me had been part of my fraternity, but he was there 20 years, maybe 30 years prior to me joining. And at the end of the conversation, when we had 5 minutes to spare, he asked me about my experience of joining the fraternity and running and being the president of that fraternity. Now, I'm not going to say that because of that, I got the job, but I do want to say because of that similar value, because we've been in the same network, we were able to make a much deeper personal connection. And I know I therefore personally had a favor above some of the other candidates that were there. And I got the job. When I left my career at Unilever, the reason why I left my career at Unilever, because prior, during my student times, through a friend of a friend, network of a network, I'd done a consultancy job for an entrepreneur that ran a recruitment business. And I'd done pretty well. I'd stayed in contact. I liked him. I made a conscious effort of once in a while checking in with him. And then 4 years into my journey at Unilever, and at the time I really wanted to do something more entrepreneurial, but I didn't really have a network with other entrepreneurs yet. I got a call from that person that I did the consultancy job for. And he asked me, hey, do you want to become a partner at my recruitment company? And that was my ticket into entrepreneurship and into the recruitment industry. 3 years later, I started Matcher with my current co-founder, Maarten. And Maarten and I know each other from our days at the fraternity. And every 6 to 9 months, when I became an entrepreneur in the recruitment industry, and Maarten was already an entrepreneur in that space, we would meet for lunch just to catch up and see what we were doing. So when I left my previous startup, I contacted Maarten with the idea of Matcher, and Maarten said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's start this together. And I can have dozens of these type of examples, because all the choices that you make, where you want to hang out, what you want to do, which soccer club you join, which university you go to, which town you live, these are all networks. So one of the things that I deeply believe in is that the biggest thing you can do for your personal growth is to move out of your hometown. Because your hometown, you know everyone. But when you move to a different city, different country even, you'll be exposed to a new culture, a new way of thinking, to new opportunities, to a different network. Now, you can even look at this from a global macroeconomic perspective, right? Is if you want to build a career in tech, Andrew, what is the best city in the world to go to?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, 100%. If you really want to build the biggest career in finance, in Europe, you go to London. In the world, you go to New York. Right? Because of the concentration of people that are working in tech or in finance in these examples is just the biggest in those cities. So the opportunity for you to get a job in tech and be successful in tech or raise money when you want to build a tech startup is San Francisco. That's a network, right? And then the network around you in those cities, we can talk about this later, right? Then you have all these little micro networks. And it's something, if you think about that consciously, in terms of who are the people that you want to surround yourself with, whether that's geographically or the people that you hang out with or the people that you're connected to, that will have a huge impact on the opportunities that come to you, whether that's professionally or personally. Because I strongly believe, because that's what I found, is that your network is your net worth. Have you ever heard of the law of association, Andrew?
No. What is it?
So the law of association is the if you take the average salary of your 5 closest friends, your salary will be very similar to the average of what your 5 closest friends are earning. And the law of association is if your friends are all into fitness and health, there's a high likelihood that you will also be in fitness and health.
Mm-hmm.
If you are very spiritual and you like to do yoga and meditation,
Mm-hmm.
there's a high likelihood that your friends will also be in meditation and health. Now, again, if you want to be a marketeer in a tech company and work for some of the fastest growing tech companies in the world, go to San Francisco and surround yourself with other marketeers that are successful in that field, right? Because if you want to be, let's take another one. If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with 5 other millionaires and you'll be number 6.
Yeah. Adriaan, and you moved from the Netherlands to New York. When we are doing such things, we move to new places, and this can be applied to new markets, right?
Yeah.
How can we start building our networks from scratch? It's a very tough thing.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. People, I often, get comments like, "Oh, but like it's easy for you. You know so many people. You're so extroverted, right?"
Yeah.
But I will tell you. So the backstory is I moved to New York because 8 years ago I met my wife at Burning Man, and she's been living in New York for the last 30 years. So I moved to New York for her, from the Netherlands. And the Netherlands, that was my network, that was my comfort zone, right? I knew everyone there. It was easy. But coming to New York, I only knew her. And her friends, she's creative, she's an artist. Her friends were not necessarily my friends. So I truly had to start from scratch. At least that's what it felt like. And for the first year and a half, I struggled because I found it hard at the age of 36 to meet new friends, even in a city like New York. So what I ended up doing is I tried to find different networking groups. And I started with a soccer group of Dutch people that were in New York and that played soccer every weekend. And that was my Saturday activity. I enjoyed playing the soccer, but in all honesty, these were not necessarily the friends that I would have picked, right? But in that way, beggars can be choosers, right? So that was my first network that I tapped into. And then slowly over time, through that network, I met 1 or 2 people that I then enjoyed meeting. And the one thing that I learned is that, especially when you're new to a city or new to a specific field, say yes to everything. Say yes to everything and be proactive in terms of outreaching. No one, especially in a city like New York, is gonna give a shit about you being in New York or about your story. You gotta go out there and gotta meet people. Let me give you an example on the business side. So in the Netherlands, as you know, we organize a lot of meetups, and meetups are a great way for us to bring some speakers together. We typically do it at our clients' offices, and it's easy to get speakers. So I thought, let's do this as well in New York. Let's organize a meetup. Let's bring in a couple speakers that could potentially be clients. Let's rent a nice space, and let's get the word out that Matcher is now in the US, right? I thought easy. What I didn't realize is that in the US, a lot of tech companies have very strict policies around public speaking because they're afraid that someone might represent a Meta or an Amazon or LinkedIn in the wrong way. So that was one. So it was super hard to find speakers. 2, because nobody knew me or Matcher, nobody felt there was any value for them to speak. Number 2. Number 3, it's very costly to do anything in New York. It was 4 times the cost of running a meetup in Amsterdam because of the food, because of the location, and just New York is an expensive city to do anything. Then 4th, to my surprise, it was really difficult to get people to sign up for the meetup. And I realized, 1, that speakers were not like maybe the A-list speakers that we had in previous events. 2, again, because nobody knew us. it was hard to get people to motivate for a company that they'd never heard of. And, people get bombarded by messages on LinkedIn these days. So what happened is that the first meetup, in all honesty, was an utter failure. We had people that show up. No one was really relevant. It was very expensive. And also the content was, mediocre, if I'm really honest. And we put a lot of time and effort in this, like trying to get these people there, right? So what I learned there, if you're new to a city, find an existing network or existing person that already has a network and work together in a way that this other person or this other network is opening up their network to you. So what I did after with these learnings is I realized to go immediately for a larger event where I want to have 60 people to show up, I either need to get phenomenal speakers so people are like drawn to these speakers, like they don't really care that Metro organizes this, or I need to do something smaller where I slowly over time build up my network. And I choose the latter. I met at a networking HR event. I met an amazing woman. Her name is Claire Kennedy, and she was the VP of talent of fast-growing fintech company. And we bonded. I met her over coffee, and I told her, open and honestly, it's like, hey, this is my problem. This is what I'm experiencing. So what I would like to do, I would like to organize a dinner. Would you be open to co-host that dinner with me, whereby you invite your network, and I will take care of the dinner. I will take care of the cost and the logistics around organizing the dinner. And of course, I will try to bring in some people as well. But truth to be told, my network is just non-existent. And we did. And the reason why this worked is, one, I had a personal connection with her. But two, I had something of value to offer her because I paid for the dinner, right? I offered to create a private dinner setting. And she opened up her network. We had 8 people to show up at this dinner. I curated the dinner in a way that people really felt open and compelled to share. And we had a beautiful night together. And out of the 8 people that I met there, with 3 of them, I organized the following dinner. And they opened up their network. And now I've organized probably over 50, maybe even close to 20 dinners. And at each dinner, we have 8 to 10 people, right? So now I've had between 150 to 200 people come to my dinners. And all of a sudden, I have a network.
It's amazing. It's amazing approach. Adriaan, and I think you have unique approach to organizing these events. You're cooking together.
Yeah.
Could you tell more about this? This is amazing thing.
Yeah. So again, right? I love to think about what is the reason why you're bringing people together, and what is the desired outcome. There's so many networking events or networking dinners where it's just like, all right, we're gonna have a super nice dinner, and good luck. I hope you sit to someone nice, right? It's never about the food. If people come back from a dinner and they talk on the only thing that they talk about the food, I don't think you should have called it a networking dinner. I think you should have called it a dinner. So the framework that we've developed is for you as an organizer to start at the very end when people are home or on the way home after your event, whatever the event might be. And start with, what do you want people to tell others about the event that they just attended? Start with that endpoint in mind. Where in my case, let me look at the dinner, is it, what do I want others to tell? I want others to tell how amazing this dinner was. And I want others to tell that they should come to the next dinner. And the reason why I want them to tell, and I want them to know who I am. I want them to feel a personal connection to me and the other guests. And I want them to understand what we do as Metro. By starting at that endpoint, I've curated an experience for my guests to connect deeply with each other, and for a moment for them to understand what we do as Metro. And 3, to ask them if they enjoyed the dinner to refer others. Now, how I've done this, and this is something that has just organically happened. 1, I love to host. 2, I like to cook. So at the start of the dinner, there are a couple secrets here. They're at the start of this dinner. This is not your average networking dinner. It's 8 to 10 people. I send a strict email where everyone needs to show up between 6 and 6:30. Otherwise, the doors will close. Because we all cook together. I print out 4 or 5 recipes, all vegetarian. I've done fish, I've done meat, etc. But they're always like different dietary wishes. There's always one that doesn't eat meat or fish. So I stick with vegetarians, the safest option. I print out 4 recipes. I give everyone an apron, and I give everyone a name tag. And I put people that don't know each other, regardless whether they can cook or not, at a cooking station. I have the luxury that I have a nice kitchen that allows me to do this, right? This might not be for everyone, but even if you have the tiniest kitchen, you can create something. And the reason why this is so powerful, because instead of me being the host and like cooking and slaving away all afternoon and almost being exhausted by the time we serve dinner, all for just like, oh, Adriaan, this is amazing. Remember, it's never about the dinner. It's never about the food. All of a sudden, everyone becomes part of the experience. And because you're doing something together, it is such an easy way to connect on a deeper level. Because when you cook, you can talk, you can cook. It's like, oh, where's the recipe? You're active together. And it creates this very natural way of bonding and creating an experience together. And that is something that I try to create with every time that we bring people together, whether that's a meetup, whether it's a leadership event, whether it's a conference. Get people to do something together at the start, to lose the formality, to get people to be in the present moment, whether that's through a breathwork exercise, through an eye-gazing exercise, whether that's through walking around the room and talking and using a couple prompts to get to know each other a little bit better. And in this case, of the cooking after an hour, we created the dishes. Everyone, there's rowdy, there's wine served for the people that want to drink wine, right? And then over dinner, we have a single conversation. And I always start the dinners, and I've tested many opening questions, but this is by far, for me, the most powerful one. I ask people to share with one word what is currently front and present for them in their personal and in their business life. And as a host, here's the key. You start. So I will start. So for example, my word now would be focus. Focus. I find it very hard right now to focus on all the different spinning plates that are happening in my life right now. Matcher is growing. We're doing really, really well. We're taking it to the next level. I'm working on this culture book. I'm organizing events. There's a lot of different moving elements, and I'm sometimes a little overwhelmed with everything that's coming my way. And it's, instead of like going into action, I feel more like a deer in the headlights. Like, oh, what do I start on? Then my charity foundation, 20 for the Planet. We're now organizing 6 walks across the world, whereby all of a sudden it's taking up a lot more time than it did in previous years, which is amazing, but again, distraction. And then there's a third hobby project that I started with a friend on the side, which is secretly taking a little bit more time than I expected, which is a device for people to switch off their phones so that they can connect deeply with other people around it. All passion project. And next to that, I'm a stepdad. I have a family, right? So that's why I would choose the word focus. Why this is so powerful is that because when you open up, the other guests will feel safe and they truly open up. I am not exaggerating. On the 15 dinners that I've done, at multiple occasions, people burst out in tears or got watery eyes. It's because they felt safe and compelled to share. And what happens when we create a container like that, people feel very and deeply connected with each other. Remember what I want to achieve? That's what I want to achieve. And then the last question is a challenge or a learning or something that you're dealing with, and then we try to help each other, and then nobody leaves before we've done the dishes, and then I do a closing ritual. And the beauty of doing the dishes, it gets light again, like people are like, playful, chatting. And then I do a closing ritual. I let everyone take off their name tags. We do it in a bowl. I play a great soundtrack, and then I kick everyone out.
Great. It's such a great experience, and this is completely different from what we can see in different tutorials for marketers, like how to organize the best event. This is something natural. You said this word that was on my mind, that this is natural way to connect with people. Adriaan,
And don't forget, right? In our business, we only need a handful of clients, right? And I know many of your listeners, they will have thousands, if not tens of thousands of clients because of the SaaS project or whatever that they're selling. But even think about it from like, how do you onboard? How do you connect with your users? Even if it's thousands of people. If you're able through your product to make someone feel heard or seen, you will have lifelong customers. Let me give you an example. Have you ever had your phone broken down, or have you ever had like something, you're excited about a product and it didn't work and you're frustrated about it? Have you ever experienced anything like this?
Yeah, of course.
So give me an example. And how were you helped with the customer service afterwards? Was it a good experience, bad experience?
Yeah, so the last example, pretty painful. I have bought toothbrush.
Yeah.
It cost around 400 euros, Adriaan. 400 euros. Wow. It's really great. But after 2 months of using it, it stopped charging. So I went to the store where I bought it and returned. It took 1 month to repair it, and now I can use it and enjoy. So this is the last.
So it's a great example, right? Excited about this expensive purchase, right? Where you're brushing it, you felt like your teeth. Oh my goodness, there's Wi-Fi on this thing. Everyone's happy. I can even watch and listen to a podcast if I want to while brushing my teeth. Right, everything is there, and then it breaks down. Frustration. Then you bring it back. And the reason why I'm bringing up these examples, right? They've helped you, okay, but you had to be without your toothbrush for a month.
Yeah.
Think about the example when they would have, without asking questions, like, we're so sorry, here's a new toothbrush, and they would have given you a special head that would have made it even better, right? And that's what I mean with, what are you doing to create that tiny moment of awe, or that tiny moment of, hey, I feel seen and I feel heard? Because then, and research has shown this, from the negative experience, by being seen and heard, your feeling about the toothbrush would have even be elevated in your feeling. And that's with any product, right? That's with any marketeer. What we're trying to do is for people to feel a connection with our brands and that they feel that they belong. If you're able to create a sense of belonging and a sense of community and a sense of following for your brand, you're unstoppable. Think about it, that people have tattoos of Nike and of the Apple logo.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane, but amazing, right? And that's what we are doing with Matcher, right? Because as one of our SaaS vendor sponsors for the events that we do, he said, we have this amazing product, but you have the community. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but because we have the community, and you need to protect your community at all costs, because we have the network, because how people feel connected to our brand, that's why other people want to tap into our community and in our network. And because of that, we're able to win business. Because of that, we're able to understand what the market is doing. And that truly is the power of what marketeers really have in them. And that's why we work so well together, because you are front and center of that, of constantly giving back. Another thing to keep in mind, especially when we talk about networking, the power of network is generosity. Give without expecting anything in return. Let me give you an amazing example. There was this real estate broker in Los Angeles. And he wanted to start selling the house of the stars, like the 10, 15, 20, 30, $40 million houses. But as you can imagine, every real estate broker wants that, especially in a market like LA. Extremely hard to get into and 100% network driven. And he called and he tried and he sent letters. And no matter what he did, he was able to crack the code until a window of opportunity happened. In LA, there was a big strike of the garbage companies because they were unionized. They didn't feel that they got paid well enough. So they went on strike. And they went on strike for days.
Mm-hmm.
So the garbage wasn't being picked up. Only once per week when it got too out of control. But you can imagine these fancy neighborhoods and they had all this garbage there, smelly. LA, it's always warm, right? So rats quickly started to pop out left and right. And what this real estate broker did, he rented a garbage truck.
Mm-hmm.
And every morning, for 3 hours with a group of guys, paid it out of his own pocket, he picked up the garbage in the area that he wanted to do business. And this went on for, I think, maybe 100 days. He did this every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And multiple times he was tempted to like plaster his real estate firm, like his own brokerage on the garbage. But he didn't. He didn't. And at a certain point, other neighborhoods started to notice, like, what's going on there? Why is this neighborhood? Why is the garbage being picked up? What's happening there? Who? And also the garbage company were like, what's going on? Like someone's breaking our strike, right? And then words started to come out. It's like, no, it's this real estate broker that's doing that. And that's when people started to notice him. And that's when people realize he's a good guy. This guy cares. This is a guy I can trust. If he's willing to do this every day. And that's after 100 days of picking up the garbage, caring for the neighborhood. That's when he got his first phone calls in to sell houses.
Yeah.
Give. And one very powerful thing that I've learned from my previous co-founders, be a super connector. And what I mean with that is get into the habit whenever you speak to someone to think, who in my network can I connect this person to? And ideally, that connection is mutually beneficial. Let me give you an example. This happened just yesterday. I was actually having lunch. This is a funny story how this goes. Like, so let me tell you the networking story on how I met this.
Yeah.
So this is the founder of one of our direct competitors. 2 years ago, I went to a festival, music festival. And it was early in the morning, and I was hanging out with someone on the porch. We start chatting, and at a certain point she asked me, she said, well, what do you do? I said, I run a recruitment company. And she said, no way, you got to talk to my husband. He's also in recruitment. I was like, what? Here, okay, he was also in recruitment. So we start chatting, and it turns out that this guy, he runs a successful podcast, the Puzzcast. You know him, right, Adam?
Yeah, Adam. Yeah,
Adam. So he runs a podcast. So we start chatting. He's like, no way, what's funny, what a coincidence. So we connected after. We met later. And then a year later, we sponsored his podcast because he had a network at a conference that we went to. And because of his podcast, I was able to get in front of the people that I wanted to get in front to invite them to come and speak on the podcast. Remember what I said at the beginning? Bring something of value to someone if you want to get in front of them. That's valuable to them, not to you, right? Don't go, Andrew, I've never met you, but hey, here's my service, come buy it. No. Andrew, you want to build your podcast on the WeMarketers? I know this phenomenal CMO at this company. I think this person could be a great fit. Would you be open to have a conversation with them? All of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is a super nice guy, Adriaan. Like, what does this guy do, right? So anyway, so sponsored Adam, and then I told Adam that I was going to a recruitment conference in London. He said, oh, you got to meet my buddy, Leo, the CEO of a direct competitor. At the time, I didn't know him. So he connected us. We met at the conference, like, okay, great, And 2 days ago, we met here in New York because he was in New York. And while we were chatting, he explained to me what his wife does. And it turns out that his wife works for a direct competitor of one of my closest friends. And my closest friends happen to be looking for a new job in that space. Said, hey, would it be helpful for them to meet? And she said, yes, that would be great because we're actively expanding to the US. They're having coffee somewhere next week. I don't know if something comes out of it, but I've added value to 2 people in my network, one in my first degree connection and one in the second degree connection. Now, I will most likely never benefit from anything like this. But if you do this on a constant basis, you will become the magnet for the people in your network with questions. If you know someone, you will be providing constant value for the people in your network. And it's amazing to do this, to pass this forward and never get into the feelings like, oh, well, I've introduced you now so many times, now you should introduce me. It's not how it works. The power of networking is generosity.
Adriaan, you're telling stories in such an amazing manner that I can just sit back and just listen from the very beginning. You will do all the work. It's amazing.
It's something that's very dear to my heart. And I'll also tell you when I had a real aha moment is the aha moment came when I read the book Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. It resonated with me because he basically explained how he built his career and how to network, but also he is a profound advocate of your network is your net worth. And he has tons of these examples on how his network has helped him and how he has seen how different networks operate. And when I read that book, that's when I became conscious of something that I had unconsciously been doing all the time. Once you become aware of something, you can actually grow it or you become better at it, right? And that's when I started to put real attention and to focus on how to expand and build a network.
Adriaan, when I'm talking with people about growing their network, almost everyone acknowledge that this is something important. We should start doing this. But at the same time, there are a lot of doubts. People not sure that they would be able to do this. A lot of concerns like, I'm not the kind of person who is doing this. Nobody knows me. From your standpoint, how to start building their networks?
I think a couple things that you can do and that you can learn. You might be more on the introverted side. You don't really like to go to like external events, but you know like it's needed, right? So what are a couple things that can help? See if you can find someone that wants to come with you. Because it's much safer and more pleasant if you're with someone. And once you get a little bit more used to the uncomfortable feeling of like, oh my goodness, who are all these people, right? You can build that muscle of going by yourself. I truly believe that going by yourself is by far the highest value because you will be forced to meet other people, whether you like it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Same with traveling alone. I've traveled a couple times alone when I wasn't married yet. Uncomfortable, but incredible because you meet all the most fascinating people because you don't have the luxury, or if you want, of course, but you just start to talk to people like random stranger and you meet all these fascinating people versus, when you're together, you're much more closed off because it's the experience between the two of you.
You're
right?
focused on each other.
You're focused. To practice an easy way to connect with people. Like go up to people, especially on a conference or a dinner or an event, and ask them like, hey, what is the reason for you attending this conference? Like what stood out for you? And I like that question because it's not immediately right away. It's like, tell me your deepest and darkest secrets. It is also not like, hey, how are you? What do you do? Right? Because that also like feels a little bit like, oh, okay, all right, here we go, kind of. But like, what made you sign up? Like, what's, and then usually that's an organic, open question that gets people to talk. It's like, well, I'm here for this speaker, or I've been there last year, I really liked it. Right, and then you have enough hooks to continue. 2, when I go by myself to a conference, I try to look up the people that are there, right, so that I can already do a little bit of prep work. And I typically do this with speakers. And then what I do with the speakers, I'm thinking, what value can I offer them to go up to them and have a conversation? I have a podcast. I know someone in their network, right? I organize my own events. Like, hey, Andrew, I love your talk. We organize this in this conference. Would you potentially be open to speak at our conference? And then, okay, tell me a little bit more, right? So there are a couple ways to do that.
I remember the story you shared about how you helped one of the speakers with her personal brand on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so this was like she's a high, well-paid, well-known keynote speaker. And there were probably 2,000 people in the room when she spoke. Phenomenal story about her origin, very successful business entrepreneur. And then I looked her up on LinkedIn and I realized that she barely had any followers on LinkedIn, and she didn't post on LinkedIn. And it was the first platform I looked her up. She was big on TikTok, she was big on Instagram, nothing on LinkedIn. And I happen to know quite a bit about LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I've studied with some of the most well-known LinkedIn influencers. So after the conference, I went to the back room and there was someone sitting there, and I just went up to him, like, "Hey, sorry, I need to speak to this lady." And he kind of like thought, "Oh, you know her." So I went up to her, and she was just standing there, just having a drink. One or two people were talking to her, and I just went up to her. I said, "Hey, like, amazing talk. I really like what your story, and it really resonated with me." I couldn't help but to notice that you don't have any posts or any following on LinkedIn, and it was the first platform I looked you up. And she's like, "Oh gosh, I know, it's like LinkedIn. It's like I have to do more with it, right?" And then I explained to her, it's like, "Well, listen, I can actually help you with that. It's like, I'm not charging anything for it, but like I've developed this method, and I know this and this and this and this." And she was super interested. So we chatted very engagingly for 15 to 20 minutes. We exchanged phone numbers. And I've had 2 follow-up conversations with her, and I provided value for her. And she's now, I wouldn't say like first degree connection. It's been a while since we've last been in touch. You actually remind me of her to see how she's doing. But I've provided value for her, and it doesn't always have to be like you won't always have these hooks, right? But if you're able to connect with someone on that level versus being one of the millions of people say, "Oh my goodness, great talk. Can I have your signature?" People are not going to remember you.
Yeah. And sometimes out of these small talks, unexpected results come. For example,
100%.
like the story when you were eating hot dog and onboarded one of the biggest clients for us, right? In the US at some conference.
Yeah, 100%. It's literally our biggest client to this day. I was getting food from a buffet, and someone stood next to me, and she was also grabbing food from the buffet, and I said, and I asked her, it's like, "Hey, Melissa, what brings you to this event?" Start talking, and it's like, "What do you do?" I explained to her. It's like, and she's literally, her eyes widened. She's like, "Oh, that sounds exactly what we need."
Exactly.
Oh my God. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." Next day, go to the office. We close the deal 4 weeks later. Biggest client in the US.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that people should remind themselves of, right? So why are we so nervous of going to people that we don't know yet? Or like, why is it so uncomfortable? Because we're tribal people, right? We're tribal people. This is our limbic brain that is signaling this could be dangerous, right? The number one thing that people fear more than death is keynote speaking, right? Being on stage, being in front of everyone, being judged, like making a mistake, right? People fear it more than death, right? And the same with like going into a group of strangers that you don't know anyone, and it feels so intimidating. Even and I do dare to say that I'm a networking expert. Every time that I go somewhere by myself and I don't know anyone, I am a little nervous. I feel a little intimidated. I run through all these stories in my head, like what people might say or might think of me. And it never is, right? Because I know, especially when you go to an event or a dinner, the reason why people are there is for the content, but also to meet other people. And you can just walk up to people. It's like, "Hey, what brings you today to this conference?" Or another question that I like is like, "Hey, What is something that you're currently excited about in your life, right? And then people start to talk, either personal or business or whatnot. And if the conversation doesn't really go anywhere, that's also fine, right? And then you move somewhere else. The thing that I had to learn is to be comfortable being by myself for a little bit. To be at a conference, like, oh, I have no one to talk to. I feel alone. Oh my God, this is a failure. Nobody likes me, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like, oh, I'm so sad. It's like, oh, I'm not wanted. I'm not loved. Oh my goodness, all of these things, right? Would come is to learn to sit. It's okay to sit in that moment and to like observe for a little bit. And sometimes people come to you because of that, right? Because they see it's like, this guy seems
that?
calm and like seems composed. Like, what's going on here?
Amazing. Adriaan, you mentioned LinkedIn, and online networking is one more part that we should work on. What's your approach to online networking, and maybe some takeaways from here, some learnings?
So a couple things with networking, right? In the ideal world, you become the person that people want to network with. And how you do that is to become a thought leader in a specific topic or space. But you can be a brilliant PhD science student physics that knows everything about AI. But if nobody knows that you know, people will never find you. So part of networking is, as much as you go up to people, is for you to have people drawn to you. And how do you do that? You do that typically by doing something interesting. Now, what is not interesting is that you've been watched White Lotus over the weekend. Yes, it might be a coffee chat or something, but it's not going to be something that people will go up to you and say like, "Oh my goodness, tell me more about White Lotus and what you've seen, what you've watched." What people will ask you about is like, "Oh my God, how's the training for that marathon going?" Or even further, how's that 24-hour walk that you're organizing every year? Like, can people even make that? How does it work, right? People are drawn to interesting things, right? That's also like why success, right? Everyone wants to be successful, like finance or whatsoever, right? Like that's why people, as like what appears to be success, they want to I want to have some of that magic, right? And people know that because people become public figures, become successful, yada, 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 right? So in order to do that and get the word out of whatever you're passionate about, is talk about it. Do keynote speaking, if that's something that you want to do. Or in my case, I do both keynote speaking, but also I share openly how my entrepreneurial journey is. And I've been doing it quite consistently in the last 7 years. And slowly but gradually, my LinkedIn following has grown. And it has created so many benefits. And I think the biggest benefits, which I didn't realize until a year and a half ago, and I spoke to our internal head of recruitment, was Nora at the time. And I asked her, I was like, what are people saying? Like, why did I like Matcher? What are you hearing from candidates? Because I wanted to know, like, how are we perceived as a brand? And she said, well, people love that we're fully remote. People love that we're recruitment business. People love that we're growing. People love that we organize so many events. And she said, and frankly, people really like you. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, well, almost every candidate that I speak to follows you on LinkedIn. And because you share so openly in everything that's going on with Matcher, people really feel connected to you. And it's someone that they would like to work for. And it's a benefit that I never intended. But because people know me, the person that I am, people get a perceived image of what it's like to work at Matcher. And also means maybe not everyone is drawn to that story, but the people that do are, right?
Yeah.
And founders are, whether we like it or not, we are the culture. Right? Like how our behaviors, culture starts at the top. If we say we're very structured and rigid and we always need to be on time, but if I'm never on time, the culture is to never be on time because, that's what the leader does, right? It's as simple as that. If we say we have an open feedback culture, but no one can give feedback to me, we don't have an open feedback culture. And people are like, yeah, fuck you. right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this has created so much momentum, and especially after I've moved to New York, I realized when I came to Amsterdam and I didn't see, and it was on King's Day, and on King's Day I meet a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time, right? That I not necessarily would make time and effort to see whenever I'm back in the Netherlands, but are still like friends. And I've realized is that almost all of them are reading my stories. It's not necessarily because they like it or comment. And there was definitely some like, oh, Jesus, Adriaan, you really have to like speak. So because, oh, is this going to be a LinkedIn post tomorrow? But I realized like, wow, my reach is going much further than I thought, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, I've landed clients. Because of that, I get invited to speak. Because of that, I get invited to be on podcasts, right? And the word is spreading and spreading and spreading, right? And I truly believe that one of the biggest investments that you can do in yourself is to build your personal brand. Because the more people know you, the bigger your network, the larger chance of new opportunities that are coming your way, the larger the opportunity is for you to get invited to specific events. And look what you're doing with your podcast, right? In the beginning, you struggled to find people, and now we have people lined up because you're building your thought leadership in this space, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think this conversation can last hours, and I'll be sitting and enjoying your stories, but we must be mindful of time. What is the best? I think it's a little bit stupid question from me. What is the best way to
LinkedIn.
yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Adriaan, thanks a lot for joining me today and for sharing your wisdom. I believe that this is not our last podcast because you have much more stories to share, and I believe that one day we will record it in Amsterdam in person. We will do this on a great location, like walking maybe along the canal or something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me, and bye bye.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Winning is crazy. Your opportunity. Your opportunity.